Welcome everyone who's watching the recorded version. I don't think there's anyone here yet. It's always awkward when there's a recorded version, and I don't want to start talking until people get here, but I also don't want you to just stare at me oddly. Hi Ashley, congratulations! So right now I am live on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. So I will be responding to comments on all of the platforms. So yeah, hi Danny. So to kick off, it's my book birthday. July 23rd is my book birthday. 2 years ago today, I woke up at 6 a.m. and Amazon wasn't set yet and it wasn't ready, and it was the publication day, which I told everyone forever ago, and it wasn't ready. And so I left the house, went for a horseback ride, got back, and it had gone through, because Amazon, there's a multiple step process, and it wasn't, and I'd been stressing for days, but there was nothing I could do but wait. So at this point, I was relieved. It was out. I don't remember exactly what I did. It was kind of a blur, the release day. But welcome to everyone who is joining, to are celebrating my book birthday. I'm going to be doing lives throughout the day on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. Going to be doing lots of fun stuff. We have lots of games planned and some awesome guests joining, and I'll definitely be embarrassing myself. So it's Christmas in July themed, if you can tell by the what are they called? Ornaments. And also this thingy that I found in the garage when I was looking for ornaments. The decorations look a lot better on Facebook and YouTube than they look on Instagram, because on Instagram my head's just in the thing. But anyway, thank you for joining. I'm going to be reading a chapter of my book, from my book, He's Making Diamonds, A Teen's Thoughts on Faith Through Chronic Illness to Celebrate. I think this is only my third live author reading, so let's see what chapter. Let's go with chapter 8, Resting in the Storm. This is something that I still struggle with on a daily basis, is resting, and you'll see. We'll get into it. I won't get ahead of myself. There. Oh, that's chapter 9, which is Peace in Storms. Almost there. Sorry. I can navigate my own book, right? So here we go. Go ahead and comment where you're watching from, and if you have a chronic illness as well, because that's what this book is about. You don't have to have a chronic illness to participate, to celebrate with me, or to hopefully get stuff out of this, because we're human, and whatever we go through, there's a lot of similarities. So I'm tired. I'm tired of pain. I'm tired of not knowing. I'm tired of restlessness. I'm tired of irrationality. I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of the battle. I'm tired of relying on others. I'm tired of being a burden. I'm tired of bed. I'm tired of being sick. I'm tired of being the sick girl. I'm tired of being tired. And I wrote that in my journal, January 2017. Hi, Naomi from New York. Cool. Nice to it's just fun that we can connect. So I start each chapter with a quote from my journal. So that was January 2017. Rest. What a beautiful word. Don't you think? In chapter 2, I told you about the survey I took asking people what one word they would use to describe chronic illness. If you remember, one of the ways most people described it was with words relating to change. Well, there was one other type of word used more often than the words relating to change to define chronic illness. They were words relating to tiredness, challenges, weariness, and rest. What's one word you would use to describe a chronic illness? I'm curious. During a month or two when I was doing really badly, I didn't think that I needed any more rest. In my mind, I was more picturing Edna from The Incredibles slapping me with a newspaper, telling me to pull myself together. Get up, fight. I felt guilty for spending all my time in bed doing nothing but resting. At least it seemed like that was all I was doing. In truth, I wasn't actually resting, despite all the time spent on my mattress staring at the ceiling. You see, what I eventually learned is that resting is a whole lot more than just being physically still. Maybe it looks like you're resting, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. For those with a chronic illness, even laying on the couch not moving often still means that you are fighting a battle. The battle doesn't let up. It hasn't ended. Around that time, a friend asked how I was doing, and I said that I was tired. Yes, despite my belief that I was overrested. I was tired of the constant battle of health, tired of the mental struggles I didn't know how to face, tired of having to rely on others, and tired of feeling like I was a burden to them. I was tired of sickness and, frankly, just plain tired of being tired. She told me that as she was praying for me, one word came to mind: rest. Just rest. Oh man, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, you're allowed to rest. You need rest. Jesus says in Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." There were two main things I was forgetting. We just talked about the first. Rest is so much more than just laying in bed or on the couch. That is only one tiny form of rest. We also have to learn to rest and be refreshed mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. One day, I was struggling. I wasn't doing well, and tears were just under the surface. You know those days. Either we were headed out of the house or people were coming over. I can't really remember. But whatever the situation was, I did not have time to deal with my emotions. Instead, I was about to need more mental and emotional reserve to show God's love and to interact with the people I was soon to be surrounded by. Checking the clock, I allowed myself 5 minutes. I slipped into my bedroom, closed the door, and took a breath. I couldn't allow myself to let the tears fall yet. That would have to wait until later. God, I prayed, I don't have the time or ability right now to deal with my emotions. Please refresh me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically in your strength, as I can't stop to rest at this moment. And he did. His grace was sufficient for me, and he allowed me to get through the rest of the day, even though I hadn't had the time to rest and recover like I needed. Which brings us to resting in the storm. So before I go on, welcome to everyone who's joining. Naomi says, my sister has chronic Lyme. She is expecting her first baby in August. Well, that's exciting, but I can't imagine doing that. The moms who have a chronic illness, they are the people that I most admire in the world. You guys are amazing. So I really hope that it's a smooth process for your sister. So for those who are joining, I'm doing a live reading of chapter 8 in my book, He's Making Diamonds, to celebrate my book birthday. And I'm going to do a Q&A at the end, assuming that we have time. So stick around. We're also going to do a giveaway, and we have lots of stuff planned throughout the day. So, resting in the storm. The second thing I was forgetting was that it is possible to rest even when you're fighting a battle and life is going 1,000 miles an hour. I know it sounds crazy, but it's possible, true, healthy, and necessary. Even Jesus rested. When a storm was going on around him, he rested both literally and metaphorically. In Matthew 8, we are told of how Jesus was actually sleeping in a boat, smack dab in the middle of a raging, billowing, tossing cauldron of a lake. A storm so fierce that even the experienced fishermen among his disciples were afraid they would sink. And that wasn't even the whole of it. Jesus was in much more than just a literal storm. If you look at the rest of the story, you see that it was not only in the midst of a literal storm that Jesus rested, but also in the middle of a lot going on in life around him. He had just finished speaking with a crowd, healing many people, and now he was traveling in a boat to a place where he knew 2 demon-possessed men were waiting for his healing touch. And yet he rested. I mean it, he was literally sleeping while the waves rocked the boat and the wind fought the sails, resting in the storms. Will we do that too? Will we be like the disciples, stressed out, panicked, and terrified, so much that they got rebuked for their lack of faith? Or will we, like Jesus, trust in God, come to him, and allow him to give us rest for our souls? I challenge you. Take a deep breath and cast yourself on Jesus. Pray, be still, know that he is God. And I know that, guys, I know this stuff sounds cliche. I know this stuff sounds easy to say and harder to live. It is. It's easier to say than it is to live. There goes my decoration. I knew that was going to happen mid thing. It's easier to say and harder to live, but it's important. And I say this stuff having lived through a lot where rest was hard. And when you have a chronic illness, it can, like we said, you don't understand how much you do need rest and how rest is so much more than just laying there. And right now, life has slowed down for a lot of us. With everything going on in the world, our schedules have slowed down in some ways. But for me, actually, I've been way busier. So I just wherever season you're in, whether you're super busy, juggling a lot, juggling multiple jobs or multiple chronic illnesses or about to have a baby or whatever is going on in your life, rest. Just rest. It's so crucial. Even if you don't have time, you need to make time. This is something I learned the hard way. I wrote this 2 years ago. I'm still making this mistake over and over again. But also, if your life is slowed down, enjoy that time. Take that time to intentionally rest. And that doesn't mean just binge Netflix, because that's not true rest in a lot of ways. That can be, if you need that kind of rest, there's a time and a place for that, but it's not real rest. You need to rest not only your body, but your mind and your soul and your heart. Hey, Rachel. So yeah, let me go back to what I was reading because I am going to get off track and get ahead of myself. God is waiting with open arms. Choose to rest. If we take the time to stop and take our eyes off of the storm, fixing them on Jesus, and realizing just how big and powerful he is, all of the storms around us will seem small in comparison to his might and perfect plan. Just like Peter learned walking on water in the account of a different storm in the Gospels. For a few months during this sickness or adventure of ours, we were homeless. We had no idea where we would be living from week to week. God always provided a place for us to stay, be it a hotel, a friend's house, or just our van. But it was a chaotic time for my family. My siblings and I joked that we had gotten packing down to a fine art. In 30 minutes, the three of us, without any help from our parents, could have an entire house, from clothes, bedding, and kitchen supplies, packed up in our car, without warning or explanation. Eventually, we would learn where we were going and why. Talk about learning to adapt. We were in survival mode. That was definitely one of the times we needed rest the most, but couldn't get it. Sleeping on air mattresses in a new place every night wasn't easy resting. At that point in our lives, where we were living was also logistically and physically taxing. My mom had to carry the laundry a quarter of a mile every time she washed a load. And because we kept contaminating stuff, because I have toxic mold poisoning, and so the mycotoxins would we hadn't learned yet how to avoid it so that it didn't contaminate our stuff. Stuff needed to be washed a lot. Apparently, wet laundry is heavy. We were also working outdoors all day, doing construction, cleaning dorms, or simply hiking back and forth across the beautiful camp property to do work or bring people lunch. We'd collapse, exhausted, onto our air mattresses every day, of course, after reinflating them. So survival mode. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about, whether it looks anything like the picture I just painted or not. Survival mode comes in all sorts of forms. It can come when life seems pretty normal on the outside, but inwardly it's a tidal wave. I don't know how it looks outwardly for you, but survival mode isn't exactly the most fun place to be in, is it? Sure, it helps you get through, but wouldn't you rather thrive than survive? Especially once you've been in survival mode for months or years. It gets rather tiring after a while, doesn't it? It does for me anyway. First, let's get some things straight. Survival mode is okay. Oftentimes, I think it is a gift to get us through the hard times. Now, as we read, I want you to know that I am not, I have no qualifications. This is just my personal observations on life. I have no training, no qualifications. This is just the trial and error stuff I've learned. Could be wrong. Not what you're supposed to do when you're trying to promote your book, but you know. Oftentimes, I think survival mode is a gift to get us through hard times. It allows us to function without having to process everything in the moment. However, eventually, survival mode has to end. In something like a chronic illness that lasts years, it's important to learn how to thrive, even in the midst of surviving, similar to resting in the midst of the storm. Thriving isn't easy in difficult conditions, But the tree that grows even in the constant winds is stronger than the tree that grows in perfect conditions. My family loves to hike. We've been blessed to see some pretty amazing places. But where am I? A few specific ones come to mind right now, especially the mountain heights where trees are sparse or bluffs by the sea, specifically for anyone who's been watching and thinking of Evie's bluff. The bluffs by the sea where the wind never stops whistling through the trees, so much so that they grow leaning in one direction. But those trees are the ones I stop to admire, the ones I point out to my companions. The trees that grow in impossible places are so amazing because they have made it even in trying conditions. They haven't given up. They haven't given up. Even the ones leaning to the side, whose branches grew only in one direction because of the wind's constant influence, are amazing. Their twists and turns make them stand out all the more, in a good way. You're allowed to be struggling. It's okay if things are hard. You don't always have to thrive. Survival mode is acceptable. But you don't have to always be in survival mode either. We may be too weak, but in our weakness, God's power is made perfect. In Him, we can keep fighting, and we can even go on the offensive. Don't give up trying to thrive, even as you survive. I want to... let me start that again. Also, hi, Haley. To anyone joining, you guys, if you're on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, as you join, feel free to comment and join. It's not just like a librarian reading or something. It's like discussion, you know? Tell me, oh, that hits deep, or oh, I disagree with that. I want to hear it. Longing for vacation. I want a vacation from my illness. So when I published my book, I brought a copy to my doctor because she's helped me through so much, and she hasn't read it yet because she's a workaholic, and it's been 2 years, but she is very she grabbed it and she's like, thank you, and she opened it, and this was the exact page that she opened it to, and this longing for vacation thing. And she's an amazing person. She's an interesting personality, and so she was telling me all about how many people had come into her office telling her that they just wanted a vacation from their illness. It sticks out in my mind. You guys, live readings, you get the behind the scenes stuff. So I want a vacation from my illness. There have been many times where I thought I couldn't handle this for one more day. I just needed a break from illness. Please, just one day off. Unfortunately, when you have a chronic illness, you can't take time off from it. Everyone else can, but not you. It's your constant, unwanted companion. The end of your rope is a hard place to be. The light at the top seems so far away, too far away, and the darkness below seems never-ending. Our fingers are sweaty and slipping, and we don't know what's going on. I often find, however, that those are the places where I seem to find God the most. Sometimes when things are hard, He seems distant, but other times He scoops us up and carries us when we fall. When we reach the point where we desire a vacation but can't have one, when we reach the end of our rope, all we have to do is cast ourselves on Jesus. It seems scary, letting go of our own hold on the rope when our strength inevitably gives out. But Jesus is faithful. When we let go of our own control, He can take over. I don't know where I was at. Let's see. I don't know about you, but I think His hands are a whole lot more capable than mine. But maybe you don't feel that way. Maybe instead of longing to learn how to rest, you feel quite rested, thank you very much. Maybe you feel like you have spent so much time resting that you never want to rest again. You are ready for life. You wish that you could be expending some energy rather than conserving it, rather than resting. You're tired of resting. Is anyone here tired of resting? Before I got sick, we decided to make a garden. We did the math, measured the yard, planned out 8 raised garden beds. We ordered some supposedly good, fertile soil to be delivered, brought some shovels, borrowed a neighbor's wheelbarrow so that we could have 2 on hand. I'm pretty sure we even hired some of the neighbor boys to help. That morning arrived just like usual on an island near Seattle, Washington. It was raining. Our yard was mushy and damp. The dump truck appeared with 2,000 pounds of dirt that we had ordered. We asked if they could back the truck into our yard and dump the dirt in or near the marked off garden area. However, the moment the wheels hit the grass, they began to sink. Well, that wasn't going to work. Instead, we laid out tarps and they dumped the soil right there in our yard on the edge of the road. We now had 2,000 pounds of dirt to move about 30 yards to the garden and shape into raised beds within the chicken wire and material that we'd already set up in the days before. We spent the day shoveling. Shoveling for that long is a fine art. Of course, I did take a few turns with the wheelbarrow, but you get the picture by now. It was a lot of work. Okay, so what I mean by a fine art, anyone who's spent a long period of time, more than an hour, or even that, shoveling, knows that there's the part where you get it with your arms, then you use your back. And if you got to find the right balance so that you don't overuse one area or the other, but and depending on how much you do, there's a certain amount where getting a heaping shovelful isn't enough, but getting too little and you'll be there for much longer. It's a fine art, I'm telling you. Please tell me someone else relates to this. Guys, Sarah's weird. It was a lot of work, but you know what? It felt good. It felt great to eat dinner that night and crawl into bed after a good shower. Although, guys, my hands smelled like poop for days because of the soil. It was just, Sleep that you earned through hard work feels wonderful. It was the same way with running before I got sick. Tiredness and rest that you fully need feels amazing. But now those instances are few and far between. My body needs rest, but I feel guilty and frustrated that I didn't do anything to meet it, except function or stay alive. Maybe you're feeling the same way, guilty and frustrated. First of all, don't feel guilty. Over and over again, God has been teaching me that lesson. Don't feel guilty for something you can't help or didn't do. Conviction is healthy and leads to repentance, but guilt for things that aren't our fault is unhealthy, and Satan wants us to be trapped in it. Frustration, on the other hand, that's a bit more difficult. I know it's hard, but we have to trust that God is in control and that He knows what He's doing. If He has chosen to teach us to rest by forcing us to do so, then maybe we should take a hint. Even if you've been resting for months or years, trust Him. I know it's hard, but if God still wants us to wait, then we should do our best to wait patiently and contentedly. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Disabled Dragonfly. Thanks for joining. If you feel like you are overrested and want something to do while you wait for your body to get the memo, then pray. This world always needs prayer. I'm sure it won't take you long to come up with a list that will take you hours to pray through. Read the Bible. Research theological truths in depth. Use this season to prepare. Be faithful with the things you can do while you wait. I'm so thankful for the times God has given me in my life to prepare for things I didn't know were coming. While I'm guessing that if you're reading this book, you're in some type of storm. Maybe you're sick or someone you love is sick. Perhaps you aren't in any particular storm right now. Maybe there's a lull. Don't waste that time. Use that time to rest, to recover, but also to prepare. It's the nature of storms to come again and again. Remember what we learned in chapter 1. In this world, God has promised us trouble. Storms will come, but take heart. He has overcome the world. Hi, Bethany. So, guys, I can't emphasize this enough. Prepare. Use your time when you can't do anything else to seek God, to saturate yourself in scripture, to pray, to grow in your relationships with people, with God. It's so important. I wish that I could look you in the eyes right now and tell you this clearly, and I'm not sure which camera to look at. I'm trying, but it's so important. Before I got sick, my friends didn't understand. A lot of them, they didn't tell me at the time, but they told me afterwards that they thought I was this super Christian. And I hated that because they didn't let me in. They thought I was going to judge. They thought I was going to be, whatever. And so they didn't tell me things that are going on in their lives, and they didn't involve me in things. But I spent that time as a young teenager seeking God and being, just saturated in him. And at the time, it was a young faith. It was a faith that I hadn't experienced hard stuff. I didn't know what I was doing. But it was really important for me to have that time, because then when I got sick and I didn't have the energy to comprehend, I couldn't understand more than half a sentence of the Bible at a time, and I didn't understand what was going on, and I couldn't pray, and I couldn't do things. I couldn't participate in church in the same way. I had those roots from before that really helped. Without that, I don't know that I would have made it through chronic illness in the same way. So if right now you are chronically ill, or you're in a trial and you're stuck and you can't feel like you can't do much, but you're tired of resting and you just want to take on the world, enjoy this time. Take this time to focus on God. Take this time to seek him and to build those roots. And if right now you're in a lull, I mean, right now for a lot of people, life has changed, life has slowed down. You have this extra time, and it might be frustrating. It might feel like you've lost your purpose, like you can't do the things that you're created to do. You can't do the things that you want to do. Use this time to do the behind the scenes work on your heart and in your relationships, so that you can have those roots, because storms are going to come. Stuff is going to change. It's going to be a wild ride, because that's life. And if I could tell you guys anything, it would be to use this time well and to build those roots now, because you're going to need them. Sarah says, I love your heart so much. Such a good word. Thanks, Sarah. I hope I can communicate it well. Danny says, so genuine. Thank you. I try. I really do believe this stuff that I'm saying, and I really want to communicate it as best I can. It's interesting. I started reading this book, my book, a month or two ago for the first time since publishing it 2 years ago. And it was because I was struggling with some stuff. I thought, well, if Sarah could believe this stuff when she was struggling so much, then surely I can believe it now too, with other stuff going on in my life. So I started reading it, and it's just, it was really encouraging to me to see. I read it, and I've seen so many flaws, because I can't help nitpick it. And even reading it today, I keep going, oh man, I wish I could reword that. But it is what it's supposed to be. And even though it's been years and life has changed, I still firmly believe everything that I wrote in here. So, yeah. Let's see. We have one more section, and then we're going to do a Q&A. So if you have any questions for me, it's a good time for it. Illness as an excuse for laziness. A friend once voiced something I've wondered too. She said, the one question I consistently wrestle with is all of the physical rest I'm taking truly required, or am I partly using my illness as an excuse to be lazy? I don't want to expect too much from myself, but I also don't want to expect too little, and it's hard to find a balance sometimes. As with so many things, this is something that will be different for each person. I'm sure that there are people out there that are using their illness as their sickness as an excuse not to do things at the expense of the people around them. If this is you, then I think that I would do some serious thinking. God put you on this earth for a reason, and if he wants you to be doing something else, it might be wise to consider doing it. Just ask Jonah. However, having talked to so many chronically ill people, having observed so many people who have a chronic illness and what they're doing, what's going on in their life, I would guess that the majority of people who have this question probably aren't using their sickness as an excuse to be lazy. I have no stats on that. I have no proof. This is just my observation from talking to hundreds of people with long-term illnesses. Very few people wake up every single day with the goal of being lazy, unless they have a good reason, like a real need to rest. Being ill and fighting a physical and mental battle isn't laziness. I get it. I am frequently tempted from time to time to allow others to do things for me that in theory I technically could do. But on the other hand, it's good to be wise with the energy that you have. If you can't do something, that's not being lazy. If doing something will make you feel sicker, it isn't laziness to let someone help you, even if technically you could do it. When you can do something without major physical consequences, then do it. But we all know what it's like to flare, and most families would prefer you to not have to spend the next 3 weeks in bed and in pain just because you did the dishes one night. You know yourself best, and if you are concerned, examine your heart. Ask God to help you do the things you need to do and to give you peace when you can't do other things. Ask Him to help you know when you are being lazy and when you truly aren't. Actually, it's probably a good idea to examine your heart, actions, and abilities every so often just to be sure. And chronic illness is constantly changing, and our abilities are constantly changing. Like I said, people don't usually wake up with the intention of being lazy. It just sort of seems to happen without us even realizing it. And illness is something that is constantly shifting, what I just said. That's funny. I haven't read this chapter in the 2 years since I published the book. So at the end of each chapter, there is a Take It Deeper section. And I'll read this Take It Deeper section as an example. But this is just to help you take it deeper, to help you understand the topic better and make it your own, and take what you're learning, and make it the changes in your life you need to, or think through the things that you need to. I wrote this book, but I want you to make the topics your own. I want you to, for everyone who reads it, to not trust me, take what I say at face value, but to really dive into scripture and figure it out for yourself. And, because I'm human and I make mistakes, and that's my desire with this book. So in this chapter, we discuss survival mode, resting in the middle of chaos, feeling too rested, and how resting is not only physical, but also spiritual, emotional, and mental. So here's your assignment. Think through your life and evaluate what areas you are lacking rest in. For example, maybe you need to give yourself permission for more sleep. Maybe you need to think about taking a nap. Maybe you need to make sure you have snacks at certain times for your mental energy. There's a specific person, if she's watching, she will know that I'm talking to her. Even though when I wrote this, I wasn't. I know I do. Maybe you need to set aside more specific times to meet with God in quiet time. I don't know. You do. But make sure you allow yourself to rest when you need it. It will help in getting better in the long run, Don't feel guilty about it. A friend of mine knows this about herself. If she wakes up by herself in the mornings, not by alarm or by anyone else, she feels so much better than if not. So she sleeps in late and works later into the night than I do, because that's how God made her body and mind to function best. And that's great. So what is it for you? What things in your life do you need to give yourself grace, and you don't have to do it in the same way that everyone else does? I'm going to go ahead and pray for you. And but if you have any questions, we have some time left for a Q&A. So let me know if you have any questions about writing, about books, about my book, about chronic illness, about faith in chronic illness or trials or whatever, or if you want my thoughts on The Hobbit, anything. Dear Jesus, thank you so much for everyone who's here. I pray that they would be encouraged right now, that they would know that they are loved, that they would know the importance of resting, and that you would help us to have the self-discipline to rest, that you would help me to have the self-discipline to rest. I pray that you would let everyone know today how loved they are. And in Jesus' name, amen. Hi, Rachel. So anyone who's joining, we just finished reading chapter 8 of He's Making Diamonds, Resting in the Storms, and I have a few minutes left for a Q&A. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and comment them. So the rest of the day, we're going to be doing some lives. I have some guests joining me. Theron St. John is a friend of mine. He's also an author and a blogger and a ministry leader and a youth pastor. Honestly, I don't know how he juggles it all. But we're going to be doing trivia. I think that's the next thing coming up. We're going to be doing Christmas trivia because it's Christmas in July themed book birthday. And we're also going to be doing a surprise trivia thing, which will involve me embarrassing myself, and if you guys are good at it, getting messy. So come for that. We also are going to be Becca Doss is joining me for a live. She spoke at Diamonds 2020, the online conference that I host, and we're going to be doing we're going to be demonstrating. I don't have good singing skills. I think Becca does. I don't. We're going to be demonstrating our singing skills while you guys guess. And the winners, the people who guess the most, for each game that we do, there's going to be a winner who gets a giveaway prize. Yeah. And then there is going to be if you guys want to win a copy of He's Making Diamonds, a paperback copy of He's Making Diamonds, that's the giveaway for this live. The person who asks the most questions in the Q&A will get the paperback copy of it. Sorry, it's like I tried to wake up early so I get my brain going, and so yeah. Hey, Haley again. I had something else I was gonna say. Oh, and Jessica Grayson is another author. We're gonna be playing Stage the Page, which keeps making reappearances in the writing community. I don't know if this is Stage the Page something that's in like a general writing community thing, or is it just a Young Writers Workshop thing? I feel like it's just a Young Writers Workshop thing, but it'll be another game that we will be playing, and you'll get to talk with her. So yeah, I'm really excited for the rest of the day. And this evening, we are going to be doing there's a after party, which is going to be only open to those who are subscribed to my newsletter. So if you are not, you can go ahead and make sure you go ahead and do that. There's a link. If you're on Instagram, there's a link in my bio. If you are on YouTube or Facebook, go just to my website, and there's lots of options to find it there. So let's see. Rachel asks, what is your newest book project? Good question. That's the question, isn't it? Last week, I started working on my fourth book, and it's been a year or so since I started working on, since I wrote a rough draft. My previous books I wrote pretty close together, but it's been a year or so. I started working on it. There are two working titles. I'm not sure which one I'll go with. It's either Roaring or Wholehearted. And it's hard to describe right now because I'm not very far into this yet. Bethany says I've been interested in this too. I've tried not to say too much publicly because I'm still figuring it out myself. But it's about, oh man, I literally brain fog. Seriously, guys. It's the things that I've been wrestling with this year. And I've just been asking lots of questions. And then one day I was thinking about it and I realized, these kind of go together. So it's stuff like, talks about stuff like dreaming for the future, like resting, like worship, like friendship. It's been something I've been wrestling with a lot the last 6 months or year or so. And burnout and just balance in life. So I don't really know exactly how to describe it yet. But I'm excited about it. I hope to have 3 chapters written by the end of this week. So that's good. Or exciting. Julia says, happy book birthday, Sarah. Thank you, Julia. Both on YouTube and on Instagram. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I was going to say something else. Oh, that really what it is right now is the things that I feel like I can't say out loud. I have a lot of, I've avoided talking about, not avoided, I've been intentionally not talking about current events publicly on I have this platform, but I've been intentionally not talking about that stuff publicly because I don't want to say stuff before I fully understand everything. And I know I'm never fully going to understand everything, but like I don't want to just flippantly say things because it's a hot topic. However, that doesn't mean that I don't have thoughts. And this isn't just about the racial issues in America. This isn't just about quarantine or coronavirus. This is just that stuff, but in general, there's stuff going on. There's ways people are acting. And there's stuff that's specific to my life that I write about everything, but I don't want to say it out loud right now because I I don't know if I'm in the place to share it or if people are in the place to hear it. But as a third culture kid, as a someone who has a chronic illness, as someone who's known a lot of people in my life, I have thoughts on all of those things, but I can't say it out loud. So the book I'm working on right now is a lot of stuff that I feel like I can't say out loud right now, but that I hope someday to be able to communicate. Um, yeah. Haley says she's never heard of Stage the Page. And she thinks it's just a Younger's Workshop thing. I think it probably is too. Bethany is not sure. Julia says, what does a normal day look like for you? Good question. It's changed, obviously. So currently, right now, a normal day will look like, I've been getting up pretty early because it's the summer here in Arizona and it's hot. So I've been getting up between 5:30 and 6:15, depends on the day. And if I get up early enough, I'll take my Bible and my journal and I'll go for a walk because I just need some space. I need about an hour every day just to myself before, if I'm going to stay sane, which I've learned about myself over the last few months. So I'll go for a walk. Yesterday I went out, walked by the river, and found a nice quiet place to sit and watch the sunrise, and it was beautiful. And so then I will have half the week I'll have a horseback therapy ride, for which I originally started doing because my doctor suggested it. Haley says space is good, and Julia says same. Yeah. So walk, quiet time, therapy, horseback ride, shower. The dishes are usually if the rest of the family's up and I'm not gonna wake them up, I do the dishes. That's the first thing I do after getting out of bed. I don't know why, that's just what I do. And then I will generally have, honestly, I spend a lot of time, right now it's really hot out, so I'm indoors during the sunlight hours. And lately I've been working on preparing for the Diamonds 2020 rewatch for the book birthday stuff today. So lots of emails. Yesterday I scheduled 1,900 and something emails. And that's just for the next week, and I'm gonna have to do that again Tuesday or Wednesday. But yeah, so I've been sending lots of emails. I have a list on Mondays. I create a list of what I'm gonna do for my work, for writing, for ministry each week, and I'm going to. Oh goodness, brain fog. Sorry guys, I will take some phosphatidylserine before my next live. But I have a list. So I usually each day will start the day by I'll do the dishes, do quiet time, do the horseback ride, and shower, and then it's 9 or 10 by the time I'm sitting down, and I will look at my to-do list for the week and choose 2 or 3 things from it that I can get done that day. And so and that also I've been doing lots of video calls, whether that's for meetings, for just keeping up with friends or whatever. I've been lots of video calls. So yeah, my day in there is usually filled with writing and emails and communicating and video calls. And then 4 or 5 each day, we've been, community I'm part of, we're doing a daily call in the evening, like a video call. And so that's nice, where it's one I don't have to lead, I don't have to organize, I just join. I don't know if any of the people here are part of that. I don't think so, but that's nice. It's nice to have a goal at the end of my day right now, to be like, if I get my work done by then, I can talk to these people. If I don't get to join. And then in the evenings, I will go walk with various friends or whatever, once it gets cool enough. And again, it's just nice to unwind that way, to get to talk to human beings, because I have talked to a lot of people, but there's a difference between talking to readers, talking to people that I'm working with, and I'm not even talking to them, I'm just emailing or whatever, then I need that human interaction. Yeah, that was very roundabout. And then usually my evening goes, I'll finish anything that I didn't get done earlier, which I try really hard to get my work done by 6 o'clock so that I can just turn it off. And then evening, I usually fit dinner somewhere. It's usually late because I don't know. I'm not usually here when my family eats dinner. And then I will watch something or read until I fall asleep. Ideally I read. Usually that's what I've done my entire life, is I read until I fall asleep. But I brain fog again. Oh, but lately I've been reading the Circle series by Ted Dekker. I don't know if you guys have read that or not. You should comment if you have. But it's I'm having a hard time getting into it. So when I'm like exhausted at the end of my day, it's one that makes you think, which I love. I love those kind of books, but I haven't gotten into it far enough yet to be like attached. So let's see. Okay, lots of hearts. Bethany says, I totally understand needing quiet morning time. Yes. Radiant Riverflower says, good morning. Good morning to you as well. Julia says, I love walking in the evening and morning. There's something special about being outside during that time. Yes, there really is. Like yesterday, I went out before the sunrise, and I went and there was no one out there. It was quiet, and I went and sat by the river, and I walked like much further than I usually do, and it had just rained, which smelled amazing. Sometimes that bothers my mold stuff, but it smelled amazing, and it was just like, it's just this, I don't know, sacred time. And then I love watching the sunset too. We finally are getting clouds in the sky, so it's not really been raining, but we got clouds in the sky, so it's been we've gotten some pretty beautiful sunsets lately. Monday, I went and with a friend, we went walking, and she was helping me take pictures, promotional pictures for today with the book. And there's this beautiful sunset, and it was also like lightly sprinkling, which made the lighting beautiful. And then there was these double rainbows. It was just this wonderful. It was wonderful. Haley says, it's awesome that you have the energy to do so much in a day. Yeah, I'm doing really well health-wise right now, which is so exciting, especially looking back. Because today I got sick 5 years ago today, like it's the 5-year anniversary. And I'm doing really well physically, health-wise, and that's been such a blessing. But yeah, yesterday I did reach the point where I just needed to rest. I caught up on everything because I was really behind, and so then I just kind of took a nap yesterday afternoon, and yeah, it was calm, quiet. My body really needed that. Haley says, I can't read nonfiction at night because I'm too tired to focus on it. Yeah, it depends. I've been reading a few nonfiction books at the moment. I've been reading Dream Big by Bob Goff, which is really good. I don't agree with everything in it, but it's so good and so what I need right now. But he tells stories, and it's really easy to read his writing, so that's helped. Nonfiction books, it really depends on the book, what time of day I end up reading it, you know? And I've also been reading Kisses from Katie by Katie Davis, which is, again, a lot of stories, so that helps. And I also have read it uncounted times at this point, so yeah. That helps. Radiant Riverflower says, I love taking my camera with me when I go on walks in the evening. I live on a mountaintop, so the sunsets/sunrises are amazing. Yeah, and we live in a valley. We live high up, but we do live in a valley, and so it's just cool to see it over the mountain. There's a specific rock that I like to go sit on and watch the sunset go over the mountains. Bethany says, good, that sounds lovely. I assume you're talking about the sunrise river walk. Haley says, I'm so glad you are doing better. I'm sure that makes the anniversary a little easier. It does. Yeah, Yeah, it does. I was talking to a friend of mine, a neighbor of mine, who I was saying, yeah, tomorrow's this anniversary, but it's actually kind of an exciting thing, and I'm because I'm doing so well, and I had planned I intentionally planned celebration stuff, um, because I think it's always a mix of things, and there's always going to be grief, and there's stuff that I lost. But honestly, my actual birthday a month or so ago was more of the grief than today is. Today, like publishing, I was really glad I got to publish my book 3 years to the day after getting sick, because it was just this redeeming thing. It's like, yes, it's hard, but God's used it, and this is where I am now, and this is what He's doing, and I'm so very excited about that. So it does make the anniversary easier. Julia says, what's your favorite part in God's Smuggler? Oh man, that's way too hard. I love that book so much. Guys, God's Smuggler is my all-time favorite book. My current favorite will change depending on where I'm at, but that's one of my all-time favorites, which Julia knows. So my favorite part in God's Smuggler, I love well, each part, I've read it so, I don't even know how many times I've read it, at least 7 or 8, maybe, maybe more. But each time I read it, there's something different that hits, and I love the step of yes, and I love just how God brought Brother Andrew and Corey together, and I love the Abraham, what's the man who lived in the woods or something, who's big, and I don't know. I love it. Oh, and one of my favorite parts is that part where he's talking back and forth with that pastor, but they have a language barrier. So instead they get their Bibles open and they point to a verse and communicate that way. And that's one of my favorite parts. And then he gets back to the hotel and he tells the hotel clerk that he spoke agape all day. So yeah, I love it. Bethany says, what was the first nonfiction book that impacted your heart? The Bible? Besides the Bible? I don't know. The first? That's a hard question. Probably God's Smuggler, honestly. What did I read before that? I've been reading it since I was very young. Don't know if I'd recommend that for everyone, because there's some pretty graphic and intense parts in that. But yeah, probably God's Smuggler. But early on, there was also the Sarah Malley's book, Before You Meet Prince Charming, that affected my thinking a lot. Or nonfiction. Fiction for a long, I've been getting more and more into nonfiction. I read a lot of biographies. I went through that phase. But honestly, fiction is where I've been at for forever. So, because it's just what I connect with. But then once I became a nonfiction author, I figured maybe I should read some more nonfiction. So I do now. I do read a good bit of nonfiction now. Yeah. Haley says, yes, as Bethany said to me a few weeks ago, God always redeems our suffering. He does. And Haley says, I love that book too. Julia says, God's Smuggler is so amazing. Yes, guys, if you haven't read it, please read it. Please do. And then when you have read it, message me, and I will love to discuss it with you. Haley says, I love that part. Julia says, the agape part is definitely my favorite quote of the whole book. Yes. Hey, Brooklyn. So we have a few more minutes, maybe. We will see how long. But yeah, if you have any last questions for the Q&A, let me know. Otherwise, I will say goodbye, and I will see you let me check the schedule and figure out exactly when I will see you so that I give you the right time. Bethany says, now I need to know the novel that first deeply touched you. That's even harder, Bethany. That's even harder. Let me see the time of the next event real fast so that oh, nope, I can't see that. Okay, that's okay. We'll figure it out. Bethany says, I'm grateful he does redeem it. Yes. So the first novel, um, um, sorry, distracted. The first novel that really touched my heart was probably, I don't know. I mean, the Chronicles of Narnia or Lord of the Rings. Those were stuff like when I was little. It really touched my heart. It's really hard to remember that far back. I don't know. Yeah, stuff like those classics probably were one of the first ones. So, last call for questions, and then I shall bid you adieu until until the live with Theron. Which, if you guys want to see the full schedule, you can see that on my website, at my blog for today, or you can look at my most recent Instagram post, and it has it in it. Julia says, "What is your favorite theme to read about in books?" At the moment, I think it changes depending on where I'm at and what theme is going on in my life. I think really, oh juice. Okay, sorry for those who are on Facebook and YouTube, because Instagram, just apparently my connection is not good enough. I don't know if you guys on Instagram can, oh, there we go. They're reconnected. Okay. I don't know what you guys missed, but we're all reconnected now. So yeah, theme to read about in books is probably like healing from brokenness. And right now, like, themes are healing from brokenness and learning to love and be loved. English specifically, I have some friends who have written books that are not yet published that have written about those themes, and I really enjoy them. I really enjoy those books. But yeah, I just read, what did I just read? I just read, oh my goodness, it was by Charles Martin. It was something, The Waterkeeper. It was that theme exactly, but it was really intense and very emotional. All right, well, thank you guys for joining my live. If you want to buy my book or look at it more or read the blurb, there is if you're on Facebook or YouTube, there is a link in the description of the live. If you're on Instagram, there is links in my bio. But yeah, He's Making Diamonds. We read chapter 8 today, and there's going to be celebrations throughout the day. I'm going to be embarrassing myself. We're going to be playing games, and the winner of who asked the most questions? I don't know. I will have to look through that afterwards. I will announce the winner later. So, yep. Have a great rest of your day. I hope that you can join on some of the other stuff.